Um, yeah, so like I just went live a minute ago, but it seemed like I don't know, I wasn't getting the chats. So apologies to anybody that was like watching and stuff. So I'm just going to talk about the legs today. Um, I'm going to quickly talk about the legs today. Uh, I was having a bit of technical issues, so apologies if the last live stream just ended abruptly. So I'm in a different angle today because like I wasn't comfortable like in the last angle that I worked with like yesterday, so I wasn't able to properly draw. But I still hope that this angle you're going to be able to see what I'm doing. Um, Despite the fact that it's a bit skewed. So I'm just going to be talking about the legs, and when I talk about the legs and the limbs of the body in general, I'm usually referring. Well, the simple way to draw them is to use um, the the cylinder shape, right? The cylinder shape. Same thing I did for the hands. You use the cylinder shape, and I use the triangle shape for the foot. Something as simple like this is as simple as this is going to get you to your destination because we have our landmarks here, right? This upper area is our femur, right? This area over here is our kneecap. This other area here is our tibia, represents our tibia, like the skeletal landmarks. And this over here is our foot, or our the bones of the foot. And we also have our fibula, but we're not necessarily seeing it, the fibular bone. So these are like the landmarks that are going to help you indicate whenever the leg is in a different position, right? So that you can easily draw the leg even at like any angle that you're looking at the leg from, right? So things like that. So simple shapes like this, practice your simple shapes like this, and you're going to be able to easily draw the leg. And well, for me, that is what has helped me. That leg looks very whack. Yeah, but something as simple as this, you're going to be able to draw the leg in any perspective, no matter the angle. But with practice, you're going to get better at drawing the leg. And I'm a lot faster with this angle. Let me know if this angle. Uh, yeah, hello imagination, bro. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate, man. How's your day going, bro? I hope things are well. How's work? Thanks. I really appreciate the support, man. I don't know if you can hear me, if I'm clear enough, because sometimes people don't usually hear me whenever they greet. So just let me know if you are hearing me properly, if the audio is reaching you. Yeah, so the legs, right? So you can be able to draw not just the legs, but other parts of the body as well in any angle. Okay, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad it's clear. I'm glad it's clear. So you cannot just draw um you'll be able to draw other parts of the body with just this simple tube shape. So but we're dealing with the legs here, so let's just focus on that. So talking about the legs, the things you need to note are, like, we've noted our landmarks, the upper leg or our thigh, and then the lower leg. The next thing we're going to look at is the planes, right? So the we have the leg over here, right? Like our tube over here like this, and then we have our second tube over here like this, right? And then we have our foot. I usually use a triangle to draw the foot, like um like this, I usually use a triangle to draw the foot, something like this. And then I detail it later on. So right, with this, we've broken this down into two major areas, right? Our landmarks. The next thing is to divide it into the plane so that it actually looks like a thigh. So we're going to there's I'm just going to talk about the quick muscles, the muscles that actually make up the leg. So we have we have our thigh, and then like the upper leg and then our lower leg compartments, right? So we have our thigh, yeah, our thigh muscles. So our thigh muscles would include our quads, right? So our quads is made up of our rectus femoris, our I've forgotten the name of the rest of the muscles. My brain just went blank. We have our sartorius muscle over here. Our sartorius muscle. Let me just put this here. Pelvis muscles. We have our sartorius muscles. We have our rectus femoris muscle, which is going to be over here, which is in the middle. And then we have our, what do they call it? Vascula lateralis. Sorry, my brain just went blank. Our vastus lateralis over here. Vastus lateralis. Our vastus medialis over here. And we'll have our vastus intermedius, which is beneath. I hope I got that correctly, because the name usually gives me a bit of a headache sometimes. But just know that the quads is made up of 4 muscles and it's part of the thigh muscle, right? And then the next muscle is the pelvis muscles. You don't need to know their names, but there are about 5 muscles there. There are about 5 muscles in the pelvis. And then over here, because of our bone, of our tibia bone, we're going to see this straight-like look. Just remember, the leg isn't necessarily like just straight like this. There are curves and turns, right? That's what I'm talking about, the planes. Because of the shape of the muscles, right, and the positions of the muscles, because of the shape and positioning of the muscle, like this muscle over here, the sartorius muscle over here, it's going to affect the shape of the leg. And because of the shape of our vastus lateralis over here and the shape of our tensor fasciae latae, which is this muscle over here, and our glute muscle, it's also going to affect the shape of the leg. So you can see there's a bit of there's a bit of a flow. Let me use a different color. There's a bit of a flow that is going on with how the leg looks, and it's also different from the flow of this other part of the leg. So it's not something you learn in a day. It's something you have to do over and over and over again to actually get better at it. So and make sure you use references whenever you walk. Yeah. So that is just simply what you need to know. That's I would personally say these are the main muscles you need to learn, right? You just go like this, simple tube over here, your kneecap, another tube over here like this, right? Your triangle, Hello, Bella. Hello, Bella. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate the support. I'm just doing a quick leg study and breakdown of what I've studied, because I've been doing a bit of some study videos on the leg, and I'm just trying to like see if I actually learned properly, and if there are any gaps in my knowledge, I'll just reach out for my reference and just it will help me. But I'm just doing a quick breakdown of what I've learned. So once you break down the leg like this simple cube, remember your plane change, which is caused by your sartorius muscle, this guy over here. This it's the longest muscle in the human body, by the way, this guy over here. So that plane change occurs, right? And you're going to see the overlap, and you're going to see our quad muscles, one of our quad muscles like this, and then we have our triangle over here. Hope your day is going well, Bella. Hope you are doing well. Once again, I appreciate the support. Means a lot for you just commenting. Yeah, so and then you see the same thing with the arm. Remember when I talked about the arm? I don't know if you check my arm video and my arm live stream, and we have a cube, a tube over here like this, or cylinder, and you break it down, right? You're going to see a bit of a counterbalance, because let me just break this down into four, right? You're going to see a bit of a counterbalance with our deltoid like this, and then you're going to see this shape like this, and then over here you're going to see another shape here. So you're going to see that there's a peak over here and there's another peak over here, right? Same thing with the legs, and then we have this area for our elbow, and then there's a peak over here, and then it goes down again. But over here the peak isn't straight, so there's another peak that comes out like this, and then like this, and that is how you actually get a good looking realistic arm. It's the same formula for it's the same formula for drawing the, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. Might need to drink water. It's the same thing for the legs. It's just that it's a bit different. This peak over here is caused by the glutes and the tensor fasciae latae muscle, right? So we have our first peak and then it goes down, right? It's usually curved, like if you look at a proper reference. But we're just trying to oversimplify it for our brains. And then you go down like this, and then there's another peak over here, right? And then it then goes down like this. And then there's another peak over here for the ankle. Same thing for the other side. The peak isn't going to be in this exact position like this. It's going to be a bit downward, and it's going to go down like this, right? So you're going to see the peak is not straight. Same thing with this area. The peaks are not going to be straight, so the peak is going to be here and then like this. So it's good to take note of the peaks. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the side view of the leg. Very scattered brain here, but bear with me, bear with me. But I'm much more faster due to this positioning. I hope it's clear. If it's not clear, just let me know. I hope you can see what I'm doing clearly. So the next position is the side view. So our side view, remember your simple shapes, like always draw with simple shapes, right? Our first tube, right? Then our kneecap, then our second tube, right? Goes down like this, and then we can then begin to add our shapes. So we have our glutes over here like this, yeah, and then our croissant muscle. The croissant muscle is made up of, I don't know, there's this snack called croissant, I believe. That's like this. It looks like a weird looking worm, and that is this muscle over here. which is comprising of our gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and gluteus minimus, I think, something like that. And then our tensor fascia latae guy over here, right? These three guys. And then we would then have our thigh, our hamstrings rather, which is the back of our muscle, thigh muscle. So hamstrings. Our hamstrings are three in number. So we have our semi-tendinosus, I believe, and semi-membranosus, and then our bicep femoris. So we're going to go simply like this. The peaks are not the same, by the way. Right. So this is representing this muscle over here, our vastus lateralis, all the way down. And you could even see a bit of the rectus femoris, which is this muscle over here, rectus femoris muscle. And then we're going to have our anterior tibialis muscle, or our lower leg. And then our gastrocnemius muscle is going to be this guy over here, and our soleus, gastrocnemius and soleus muscle. And then we're going to have our foot. And just quickly, the way I draw my foot throughout this study is what has helped me, and I've not been confused by how the foot looks. When you're drawing the foot, simple shape, remember. So we could just break it down into something as simple as this, right? And you've drawn your foot, right? This is going to be the heel, this is going to be the middle of the foot, and this is going to represent your toes, right? We're now breaking it as a 3D object. Remember, 3D object, very important. You're going to have to give it a wedge shape, right? So we're going to start with something like this, right, for our foot, and then we're going to draw a slope, right? Because the foot is not just straight. We're going to draw a slope like this, and then we're going to do something like this, and then we've quickly drawn the foot. Then with your eraser you can then begin to add detail to the foot, and break it down just like that. Yeah, just like that. And it's the same thing for the side view. You could just do something like this, make it a slope, right? Make it a slope. It's not straight, make it a slope like this, and then like this, and then you've done like a simple foot. And with this technique you can be able to draw any shoe, and draw the leg in different angles, although there are some angles that are actually quite difficult to draw the leg. Anyways, this is our side view for the leg. The next thing is the back view, which is we're going to have our glute muscles, like our simple shape, and then our two cylinders, or our two tubes, rather. And then we're going to have our glutes over here like this, our gluteus maximus over here like this. And then that slope I was telling you about is going to be inversed over here like this. Right. And then you're going to see this is going to be our hamstrings. This guy over here, these are hamstrings. It's good to do proper muscle study, like get a diagram of the muscle so that you can know like where the muscles are placed. and it can be easy for you to break down any pose. And I'm going to try and do that here. I'm feeling quite comfortable with the way I'm positioned today, so the drawing has been flowing and I've been a lot more faster. Yeah. Anyways, that's the back of the leg, and then lastly we are going to do the inner legs. So the inner legs, that's the it's going to show the medial area of your leg. That's the middle area, like in between your thighs. So we're going to have our tubes. Don't forget the tubes. Remember the tubes. Always remember the tubes. Always remember the simple shapes. The simplification is what's going to save you time. It's what's going to save you energy. And remember what I just talked about with the legs. So our wedge shape, and then have our foot. Very simple. And then our kneecap, right? It's like an M, and then there's a peak here, goes all the way up, and then our muscle, right? Our vastus medialis. It's called medialis because it's in the middle, right? These names are given because of their position. And sartorius muscle, the sartorius muscle is called the sartorius muscle because of the fact that I think it's gotten from the Latin word sartor, which means tailor, right? And tailors in those days, even in these days, like we have tailors that usually walk around where I stay, and whenever they come, they usually have to squat to, like, if you have issues with your clothes, you can just give it to them. So they would sit like this and then they would walk. And the reason they are able to have this position is because of their the muscle, the sartorius muscle, which helps them in different movement, adduction, abduction, and flexion. So then we have our hamstrings over here. And then we have our gastrocnemius muscles and the soleus muscle over here like this, and then our anterior tibialis. If you look at the names, hello Georgina, nice to meet you. Thanks for leaving a comment and supporting. I really appreciate. I hope you're learning something or two, because I am. I'm just breaking down the leg, and I'm currently doing the inner thigh, the inner like leg, the medial region. So it's called, like, when you hear a lot of things, you're going to hear whenever you're looking at anatomy. You're going to hear anterior, you're going to hear posterior, you're going to hear lateral, yeah, and you're going to hear medial a lot. And you're going to hear things like brevis, you're going to hear things like longus, you're going to hear things like magnus, yeah. And once you sort of like learn these simple terms, these ones are usually associated with each other, I believe. No, these three guys are usually associated with each other. And these three, what the hell is that semicolon? And these guys are usually associated with each other. So people usually remember this by Major League Baseball. So the Magnus simply means powerful, right? Magnus means powerful. And whenever you hear that a muscle, whenever you hear Magnus in a muscle, it simply means that it is the most powerful and the biggest muscle. Like the muscle of the what region? The muscle of the pelvis, right? There's a muscle of the pelvis called the what's the name of that muscle now? It's called adductor magnus, right? It's called adductor magnus, and it's the biggest muscle around the pelvis area, right? And it's, if you look at that muscle from the back view, it's encompassing every other like muscle in that area. So there's another muscle called the adductor longus, which is also around the pelvis area, and there's another muscle called adductor brevis. So when you hear longus, simply means long, longest, yeah, and brevis means shortest. So once you hear these names, the reason why sometimes it's good to memorize these names is because it's going to help you know which muscle is where when you actually go into figure drawing and you're looking at live references and you're actually doing proper study. So that's just it. You don't need to learn them immediately, right? I didn't know all these muscles about a week ago, but because I did a lot of study. I was able to recall them over and over again because I was drawing them a lot. Let me just show you the study in case you haven't seen the video. So this is where I did the studies. So this was the first work I did, right? I broke down the femur, the kneecap, the tibia, the fibula, and then the bones of the foot. And I'm not just doing this from memory. Um, Hello, Addix 64. Thanks for being here. Don't worry, people will come eventually. I just have to be more consistent. If I do it every day, more people will come. But as long as one or two people are getting something, I'm cool with it. But I appreciate your support. I appreciate your support. Yeah. Anyways, what I did was that I first of all did this study, right? As you can see, I just broke down the landmarks of the bone, the major bone. It's very rough. It's not that detailed, but it's very rough. But I just got the point across, right? So I knew the bones of the leg that made up the leg, right? The next thing I did was that I did a breakdown of the entire muscle of the leg. It is very tedious, I won't lie, and it can be boring, but once you are done with it, you feel so satisfied, even though you won't be able to recall any muscle. Like at this point I couldn't recall any muscle at all, right? Because like everything was just filled up, my head was just exploding with all this not like I knew the knowledge, but there was just so much facts that I couldn't recall anything. I look at all this muscle, there are about 35 of them, right? So there's a lot going on here, right? And you don't need to learn everything here to be a good artist. You just simply need to learn the shapes, right? And study is something that you have to do occasionally, right? Whenever you're not feeling confident, you just go back and then do a quick study, and then you discover that you learn something new and you get better, right? So this was the next study I did. At this point I didn't know anything. Like, don't let all these names deceive you, like as if I'm the one that did it. No, right? I copied it, right? It's just that I wanted to apply the colors and make it look cool, and I enjoyed it. So the next thing I did was that I did a breakdown of how it would look naturally, right? This is how the legs would look naturally, right? So the leg doesn't look like this. Like, you don't see all the muscles unless it's like a mutant creature that you're drawing or something like that, um, in a comic. So I showed how this is how a normal healthy leg would look. So a muscular person, how a normal healthy leg would look. I did that breakdown, and then I did a difference between how a male and a female leg looks. Like, just a quick study, right? Just try to have fun with all these things, right? They can get a bit exhausting, but you do it to improve, and improvements doesn't happen at a single instant. You don't just say you're going to improve and then you improve. It doesn't happen like that. And that was when I then began to break down the muscles themselves. I broke down the quads, the muscle of the quads. I broke down the sartorius muscle, the muscle I was just telling you about. Then I did the adductor muscles of the hips, which are the pubic muscles that I was just telling you about. Look at the adductor longus that I was telling you about, adductor magnus, and then there's one more I didn't add here, the adductor brevis. Yeah. So, and then there is the hamstring, the muscle of the hamstrings, right? And then I did the muscle of the anterior region of the leg, that's the lower leg compartment. And then I did the medial, the lateral region. I mean, lateral just means side. And then I did the posterior region, which is the back view of the leg. And like, I'm proud of what I did. Like, I got new knowledge. I like understood how the leg works. I don't know all the muscles of the leg, but I do know enough to, make me a better artist, even though it's by like just 1%. Yeah. So that's sort of what I would encourage. So one thing about the leg when you are looking at it is that in motion, rather, when the leg is in motion, is that like if your leg, if when the leg is straight, right? When the leg is straight, there's usually like a bit of, let me just draw something real quick. Just draw something. Right. And just draw something real quick. I'm much faster today because of my positioning. I think I'll stick with this. Right. Whenever you draw the leg, simply like this. This is the glutes. You're going to see the leg is not necessarily straight. There is a curve at this area. And that's because of the muscles. That's why you sort of need to learn about the muscles. And there's another curve over here, bump, depending on the size of the person. Right. You're going to see this, and then it's very important that you take note of these curves, right? This rhythm, rather, that's the word, rhythm, right? This rhythm in different angles. You're going to see it. You see it in the front, in the front view, right? You see it in the front view, right? You see it in the side view. It's quite different in the side view. And then you see it in the back view of the leg, right? Same also in this view. It's different. Yeah, and of course people have different assets, so the curves might be wider, the curves might be smaller, but generally they are the same, right? So you see how like the hamstrings and the calf is in a relaxed position, right, as opposed to when the legs are a bit raised, right? When the legs are a bit raised, I'm just draw my tube quickly, right? You're going to see how it looks when it's curved a bit. So when you raise up the leg a bit, you're going to see a bit of flexing of our hamstrings, right, in this area. And the only way you know that, you learn that, and our calves also become a bit more flexed, just the same way your bicep flexes whenever you like curl your fist, and your tricep also flexes as well. That's what happens whenever your calf, whenever you raise your leg up like this. But as you can see, because this part of our leg is relaxed, you're going to see the difference. Our calf just remains neutral. Our calf just remains neutral. Then you can then add your shadow. And then add your shadow over here like this. Yeah, so the only way you can improve this is to do the basics first, the hard work, the boring work, as I call it, and then eventually you get better. And then the adding of the values is, so what's going to make it pop. So we've been able to, draw the leg very simply and very easily. So it's important to understand all these different motion of the leg in different perspective. As you can see here, the leg is relaxed, right? The hamstrings are not popping, but over here the hamstrings like pop a bit more, and there's a bump here, right? So I think that is one thing to cover. The next thing we're going to quickly do is that, well, I'm going to quickly do is that I'm going to quickly do a a study reference, like one of my favorite artists, David Finch, because I study for comics. Like I like working on comics, and the best way to get better at doing comics is to look at how other comic book artists do their figure drawing. So I'm just going to some references, and I'm going to look at how he does a female's leg versus a male's leg. And I think I've been doing a lot of male's leg here, so I'm just going to look at a female leg that he has done. So over here we have Wonder Woman. I hope this is clear. You know what, I'm just going to expand this over here like this, and then I'll just add reference. So over here we have Wonder Woman, and the way he draws his figures, when we've learned all the muscles, right? Like I'm talking about studying now, right? When you learn all the muscles, you don't necessarily you learn them so that you can understand how much detail to add and when to add it, right? So whenever you see a muscular character, you know how much detail to add to make the drawing look good and convincing. And whenever you see a normal person with normal body fat percentage but is also healthy, you'll be able to know how to draw it. So over here we have my Wonder Woman, and she's muscular but she's lean, right? She's not so muscular but she's lean, and you can see how, first of all, because it's a female, he applies he makes the features much more softer. Now if you went ahead and made the features very hard, she wouldn't look as feminine as she does rather. Most especially we're focusing on the leg, right? So you're going to see how he draws the leg of females versus how he draws the leg of males, right? So I'm just going to quickly copy this. Copying is the best way to learn. So when I'm drawing, one thing I've learned is that when I'm talking about simple shapes, right? So for the leg, I just do a simple pelvis, a simple underwear shape to represent the pelvis, right? And this underwear shape, it can be in different angles. It can be in an angle like this. It can be in an angle like this, right? So it depends on the perspective of the character. So I do my underwear shape, and then I do my skeleton a lot. I add a skeleton a lot, like just to simplify things for my brain. I just add my skeleton, yeah, and then I do the same thing over here. And then we'll add our muscle. So our thigh muscle, you're going to see our thigh muscle here. There's always room for adjustments. Our knee, and you're going to see some of the hamstrings. As you can see with the leg, you're going to see the thing I was talking about, where in each leg, right? Like if you look at the arm, yeah, let's say these are arm, and you see the biceps over here, right? The triceps isn't at this angle like this, right? It's going to make the arm looks weird. There's something off about the arm, right? So the triceps is at this area, right? The triceps is at this area, and then our deltoid is at this area like this, right? And this makes the arm look a bit more convincing. It's sort of the same thing here, where you're seeing the peak is at this area, and the peak of this other region of our hamstrings and our glutes is at this area. So the peaks are different. Always take note of your peaks, right? It's going to help you with the drawing. The same thing with the arm. You're going to see that the peak over here is going to be different from the peak over here, like this, before our elbow region. Yeah, so yeah, just something to note. And then our glutes over here like this, our hamstrings. I think I made the leg too big. Then our knee. You can see he just adds the slightest indication of muscle, but just he keeps the shape of the muscle, right? To let you know that, yo, this is a fit and healthy muscular character, but she's also like feminine. I think I should have made the legs a bit more longer. I'm just going to do that here. Yeah, and the next thing that will make it look a lot more better is, you add the shading or value rather. So it's going to make the work pop a bit more. And your line width is very important. Very simply, like this. Yeah, the calves. You can see that thing I told you about the calves just now, where the calves, when you move it up a bit, is going to be flexed a bit, and it's going to show more muscle. And the same thing, and that's going to affect how other muscles are in the leg. Yeah, so that's just one part. That's just one example. We're just going to keep this here, and I'm going to import another leg and work on it. This time I'm going to work on a male's leg, and you're going to see the difference in how much detail he adds to. Let me just pick something that is complete. Yeah, so you're going to look at this Loki illustration. Very nice work. Hope you can see it. Hope it's not too far away. Remember, we're focusing on the legs, right? Don't forget your tubes, right? So we have our tubes, right? We have our underwear shape, right? And then we have our tubes. Yeah, our tubes like this, and then like this. So you can then yeah, and with our tubes you can then see like the muscle, and then begin adding the muscle. So we have our rectus femoris muscle over here. And because of how much he has done these drawings over and over again, because I did copy a lot of these drawings when I was young, a lot of his works, I copied a lot of these drawings, so I'm a bit more familiar with them, even though I didn't know the names of the muscles. But because of how much I copied his works, I sort of was able to, whenever I drew my own legs, I drew those muscles. And then we have our pubic muscles over here. Take note of your line weight whenever you're doing your legs. And then he really likes to add a lot of shadows to his knees. Um, and you can see how much more shadow is in like the male character. And of course, it's because of the what do you call it, the cape, right? The surroundings is affecting how much shadow the character has. But you can see how much more detail is in the male's leg in comparison to the female leg that we just did here. And even though I didn't do it in the best way, but I hope you can get what I mean. His shading is so good, man. The only way you can, like, if you have an artist that you want to, that you know that is so good, and you actually want to at least touch their level, or pick one or two things from them, the best way to actually do that is to learn the basics on your end, by what I talk about, doing the hard work, right? Learn the basics on your end, and then the next thing you do is, it will be easy for you to sort of understand what they are doing, right? In terms of hatching, in terms of whatever it is that they're doing, like their own art style. If it's color, you like the way they apply color, you like the way they apply their values, you like how detailed their work is. Like, there are certain fundamentals that you learn, and it will become a lot more easier for you to actually become as close to them as they are. And also, like me, I watch a lot of David Finch's tutorials. I haven't watched all of them, but I watch a lot of them. And drawing the leg, and whatever, I copy those tutorials, right? I do studies on them. I take his advice, and work on it. And this leg is coming out a bit, it's looking good. Definitely won't look as good as this if I was sitting in that position that I was. And you can see how much different the position of this leg is because of the different postures. They are a bit different, and you can see how bent it is. It just has a slight bending, and that's how the leg is. The leg isn't like necessarily straight. It's the muscles bend it, causes it to take very interesting curves and shapes. And because it's comics, right? There's going to be a bit of a graphic like look to the anatomy, right? So depending on the artist you're looking at, the it's going to look, different artists have different style. But like, if we're looking at a comic book style, like, we're not looking at realism, yeah, you're going to see the anatomy be a bit more graphic. Like, he works with more, it's a bit realistic, right? So these are sartorius muscle over here, and our pelvis, and that is sort of what he's indicating over there. Yeah, as you can see, that's quite interesting. I enjoyed that. um yeah, that's another leg. That's a male leg. Let's do another female leg. um let's do another female leg. Let's see any of his references. Yeah, so remember your simple shapes. So we have our glutes over here. Yeah, our glutes over here. I know most times this can be a bit confusing, but once you break it down with just simple circles, simple squares, you know simple triangles. It just becomes you figure out that you're not so lost after all. Yeah, you're not so lost. Don't forget our pelvis. Simple shapes, and we're on cue. Yeah, does that. And the more you practice it, the better you're going to be. Remember our croissant muscle that we're talking about? That's sort of what he's insinuating over here. So when you do studies, you're going to easily get this. And you see how less detailed her own muscle is. Like she's jacked, but like she's you can like they are very nice curves to her. So and making her have that feminine look. You're not going to see Batman's ass pulling his ass like all the way back like this. I mean, his ass is going to be rigid, but it's not going to be this curved, you know. So you can see how simple it looks in comparison to, like, she's wearing leather, but if it were to be like a guy, especially with his art style, if it were to be a guy that is wearing like this leather, you're going to see a lot more muscle being shown. He's going to play with it a whole lot more. I have the knee over here. Then we have our vastus medialis muscle over there. And yeah, that's it. I probably messed the proportions up a bit, but we're not dealing with the whole body and the torso, so we're just looking at the legs. It's still not an excuse to do mediocre art, but bear with me. Yeah. So because of the positioning of her body and the light direction, yeah, like that's why we have our shadow all the way like this. And the shadow is curved like this because of the muscles, right? Our sartorius muscle over here, which goes all the way to the top of our tibia, by the way. And then we have our vastus medialis muscle over here. And just cover this in black. Why isn't it working? Have our calves here. Yeah. And then add the shadow. The shadow gives it a lot more depth. Now, if you sort of are confused with this stuff, another thing you could do is that just keep drawing, right? Art is not meant to be tedious. I know sometimes it can be intimidating, but just keep drawing, and eventually you're going to get good. Growth and progress doesn't just happen in a day or at a single drawing session is something that takes time over and over and over again. And even the greats, the people at the top, the artists that you aspire towards, they improve every day. They do their own studies as well, right? um, you could see them that they know the anatomy a lot, but they still practice it regardless, and that is because they want to improve. And the only way to improve is to do, right? You should aim for progress, not perfection. And then we'll have our muscle there. Quads are my favorite muscle to draw, man. Yeah. And the hatching lines will make it a bit more interesting. Um, yeah, this has been fun. I think I enjoyed this more than the one I did yesterday, the stream I did the day before yesterday, I mean. Hello Omar. Nice to meet you, man. Um, hope you're having a nice day. Hope you're doing well. Just doing a quick study on the legs. I've been studying the leg for over a week, so I'm just seeing how far I've come. It's not like I couldn't draw the leg all my life. It's just that I've never properly done a study of the leg. So I've done them, and now I'm looking at David Finch, how he does his leg, and how I'm going to apply it as a comic book artist. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just copying what he's doing, what he did rather. If you have any questions, you can let me know, or any inputs. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate. Thanks, man. I appreciate, man. Yeah, I try my best. I try to work on the talents and improve. I don't believe anyone can do it though. It's not that special. It can be taught with time, of course. With time, it just takes time. If not, you won't improve. Yeah. So this is a Catwoman, and I'm not drawing her. This one I have on my left here, I'm just copying. This is by David Finch. Yeah. And what I'm doing here is I'm copying. I'm just copying, and I'm doing like a study of like the legs, how he draws the legs, how he draws like male versus female legs, and I'm just looking at how you know how the differences between that. And it's quite simple because the male legs usually are more muscular, and the female legs are much more less detailed. Like if you look at this Batman leg he did here, you can see how refined and detailed it is in comparison to the female legs he did. And of course, different artists will have their own application, but yeah. So that's just what I've been talking about. I'm just talking about legs basically. So how I break down legs, and how I would break down like a leg like this. So I would, just do simply put my pelvis shape or my underwear shape, right? And then I would put my tube shape over here like this, very simply. And then I'll put my second tube. The leg has two tubes, the landmarks. And then over here, put the second tube, and then the next tube. And then I'll now begin detailing from there. Very simply, just erase this a bit. and I'll then add my detail. And that's what I'm doing. Thanks for tuning in, Omar. I really appreciate it, man. And thanks for commenting as well. I'm grateful. Um, yeah. So you can also see that thing I was talking about with regards to the legs. Yeah. And you can see how he's sort of stretching out his legs. So his calves are like popping out a bit. And his calves aren't, the calves aren't like starting here, right? You can see they are up a bit. They're up a bit. Just do that. And then we have our knee or kneecap. Yeah, thanks, Omar. I will. I'll keep it up. Definitely. Thanks, man. I appreciate. Then we have our muscle here. We have our vastus medialis muscle. And then you can see when I was talking about plane change with the leg, you have your simple cube and then you have your plane change with your leg like this because of our sartorius muscles and then our pelvic muscles over here and then our knee and then the rest of our leg. Very simply here. And it's just happening in this angle differently. And then our rectus femoris muscle and our vastus lateralis muscle. Very simply. And he does put a lot of blacks when he walks on the legs, the knee area, I mean. So right here we have the leg is going down like this and then coming up. And then you can see how huge and muscular the legs are for the male in comparison to female. And then the knee. Hello, Manuel. Nice to meet you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a nice day. I'm just, doing a study on the legs. I've been doing a study for it for about a week now, and I'm at the stage where I'm having fun after doing a lot of muscle studies and stuff. Hope you're doing well. Hope you can hear me. I'm saying hi back. Yeah, so because of the cape as well, it's also sort of affecting how much shadow is on the character. And then so you can see the cape to his left, and that's the reason why it's in shadow. And the way you are going to understand the manipulation of all these shadows is if you kind of understand the muscles that are there, right? If you understand the muscles that are there, it's not going to be very confusing. In as much as a lot of the times, these great artists usually manipulate, anatomy in a way that it doesn't exist really. If you're looking at it from a physiological standpoint. And at the end of the day, just have fun with it. The anatomy is meant and structure is meant to guide you. It's not meant to be the be all and end all. We're going to see it's going to lean into our hamstring area over there. Over there. And that's our pelvis. So remember, simple way to draw the legs, your pelvis, and then simple tubes. pelvis, and simple tubes. I'm going to try, the next one I'm going to draw, I'm going to try and do it from a different angle. Let me just apply shadow to this real quick. Just apply shadow so that's going to look a lot more interesting. Even though this is not the inking phase, I'm just sketching and just applying blacks. Simple as that. And that is how we get better. And just do this. So the shadow is what's going to give it depth. To be honest, I'm not that good with shadows, but you know, like I said, shadows is all about values, and as like a comic book artist, they just exaggerate those values a lot. They just exaggerate those values a lot because even in like thick shadows, in very dramatic lighting, the it may not like be this dark or this black. The shadows may not be this black because you can see he's kind of like outside, like, and it's not going to be this dark, but it's, comic book is about expression, comic art rather, and it's about making the work be larger than life. That's why the superheroes we see, they have these big muscles and stuff. It's an escape medium. So that's why we have all these thick dramatic looking shadows. Sometimes I just wish I could be faster and just like get it done. In as much as I'm enjoying it, I just wish I could get to the next one faster. But some things can't be rushed. Yeah. All right. So I am quite comfortable with the blacks for now. So I'm just going to just do some quick hatching. I was going to do some quick hatching and some quick line weights. So don't forget your line weights. I think I should be the one heeding that advice. Hatching. Hatching is part of the values that you are going to add to your work. It's part of the things that is going to make it pop and give it that three-dimensional look. And if you're able to use it properly and correctly, like skillfully, like him, it's going to make the work pop really well. And you're able to add really good texturing to your work, to your piece. Uh, for me, he has one of the best hatching that I've seen. He and Inoue, the guy that did the real manga, and what's the other manga he did? Um, what's the name of that manga? Of that Miyamoto Musashi, I believe, is the name of the main character. Hmm. Yep, that's looking good. Whenever you are contouring, doing your values, make it contour with the muscle that you are dealing with, so that it's not going to look flat, and it's going to look consistent with the thick shadows that you've done, and it's going to make it look cool and appealing. So take note of the curvature of the leg and the material that the character is wearing. Very important. All right, I'm just going to stop here for now for this leg. I would like to add one more leg. We've done 4 legs now. I'd like to add one more leg. That was really fun. Let me add one more leg, the last leg, and this time I'm going to do it in a different angle to kind of show you what I meant. So you can see this piece here. I'm just going to put that over here like this. All right, so remember I talked about the pelvis shape, right? And you can see it's in a different perspective. It's sort of in a top view, and we're going to make our pelvis sort of follow that direction as well. So we're going to be seeing the top of our pelvis, and then we're going to be seeing the pelvis come all the way like this, and then come all the way like this, and then we can then add our tubes. And then add our tubes, our first tube, the second tube over here like this, and then the leg, or the foot rather. Then over here there's going to be the tube, because it's in different angle, and then the tube like this, and then it's going to be like this, and then like this, and it's a lot more easier to draw this way. So this is why references are very important. Use references from your artists, your favorite artists, and from 3D poses is going to help. So I'm then going to erase this a bit. I almost really erase this work I had already done. Erase this a bit, and then we're going to just make it look cleaner. So we are seeing our glutes from this area, our tensor fasciae latae over here. That's what this muscle is, but it's simplified. Then our lateralis, vastus lateralis muscle over there, and then it's coming all the way up here, and then our rectus femoris, and then our vastus medialis muscle, and then our pelvic muscles, right? Our pelvic muscles. That's what this is here, right? And then our calf muscles, gastrocnemius and the soleus muscle, our kneecap over there. As you can see, got the counterbalance I was telling you about. Our tibialis anterior muscle. And then the leg, the foot, I mean. And then from over here, you'll be seeing some of that muscle as well. That's our kneecap. You see that most of the body parts are going to be foreshortened because of the angle that we're looking at the character from. So bear that in mind. Foreshortening is going to play a huge role whenever you're looking at any part of the body from this top view, or even from a bottom or warm eye view. How long have I been live? Let me see. It's been about an hour plus. So I'll just round up, and tomorrow I'll continue with the legs. I'll do real life studies tomorrow. Real life studies. I'll look at real references. I'll look at real references. I believe that's for the calf. Very simply, like this. Yeah, that was good. The hand is one of the reasons that the shadow is like that, and also light direction. Don't forget about that. Yeah, and I think that's cool. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, we're not dealing with the hand, so won't touch on it. And that's it for today. So I hope you got something from this video. And I was a lot faster today. I enjoyed this one. This was nice. I liked this one a lot. So take your time, whatever you're studying, whatever it is that you're studying, there's always excitement in the beginning, right? And then when you actually get into it, you're going to see, because you get excited because of the possibilities, right? And then once you really begin studying it, it becomes very boring. But you have to stick with it for that moment in time, because once you come out of it, right, you are going to be very happy with the skill that you've learned, right? So that's it for tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to look at real references, references from real life, that's athletes. So let me just show you. So I have some football references here. So we can see like these legs in different positions, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at these legs and uh, draw from them. Look how athletes' muscles look, especially footballers. You see how their legs look, and in different positions, different sitting positions, in running, in standing, in squatting, like, and in different angles as well, like when they are kicking, when they are stretched, when they are tensed, and in different lighting conditions as well, right? This is a really cool um um like lighting, and it's going to make you a better artist. And studies like this is how you improve, right? You figure out what you suck at, what you're not great at, and you get better. And yeah, that's it from me today. I hope you learned something. I just want to say a big thank you to Imagination for showing up. I want to say thank you to Bella. I want to say thank you to Georgina Okorie. I want to say thank you to Addict64. Thank you to Omar. Thanks, man, for showing up and the comments and for the encouragement. I'm grateful. Thanks, Imagination, again, man. Thanks for commenting again. I appreciate. Um, Amen. Yeah, most viewers to my stream. Amen. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate your support, man. So much love. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow. Hopefully, yeah, I'm just trying to be consistent with this stuff, and you know, just let me know in the comment section your contribution. Please like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 2K subscribers. We're trying to get to 2K subscribers, so please help a brother out. We're currently at 1,600, so please show love, and I'll see you guys in the next video, on the next live or whatever. Yeah, peace.